Hello, beautiful friends. I'm out here enjoying myself on this lovely, beautiful day. And I want to talk to you about something very important, something you need to hear. How rare is it that in a 2 week span, you see two of the best horror movies you've seen in the last few years? Especially one of them. So clearly, if you're in the know, you know I'm talking about Obsession and Backrooms. Obsession in particular really blew me away. I knew nothing about Curry Barker. I really didn't even have any expectations about this movie because I only found out about it like a week prior to me seeing it. And then Backrooms, I think most of us on the internet have heard of the creepypasta, but I never really knew about Kane Pixels and his little world he was building on YouTube regarding the Backrooms universe. But at 20 years old, he made his directorial debut with Backrooms. And I want to talk about both of these movies because, like I said, in a little over a week's span, I saw two movies that really impressed me, especially Obsession. I think Obsession is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. And I'm not saying that hyperbolically. I mean that. I think it's one of the best, well-crafted horror movies I've ever seen. Now, let's start with Obsession. Now, I'm going to try to dance around spoilers, but you've been warned that I may reveal a little more than you want to hear with Obsession and Backrooms. So, Obsession, it's the story of Bear, a guy in his 20s. He has a crush on a girl he works with, Nikki, and he doesn't have the gall to ask her out. So instead, he goes and buys a little trinket from some psychedelic rock store. We've all been to this type of store. It's called the One Wish Willow. And he was going to give it to her as a gift to try to butter her up. But instead, when he chickened out of asking her out, he decided to break it open and wish for her to love him more than she loves anyone else in the world. And he gets the wish. Now, right off the bat, I want to talk about the fact that it's brilliant that Curry Barker made you think that this movie is about some sort of intangible magic, when really what it's actually about is just the experience of dating a Latina woman. All jokes aside, it's a great movie, really well crafted, and really horrifying. There's some genuine scares that I will not get out of my head for a long time. Very frightening. Curry Barker has this knack, because I went back and watched some of his short films on YouTube, specifically The Chair, which is apparently the short film that landed him the ability to make Obsession, and Milk and Cereal. And I highly recommend watching both of these, because what Curry Barker really excels at is capturing the dreamlike qualities. When I say that, I mean things don't really make sense fully, but they make sense enough where you're not questioning the reality of the situation. I loved Obsession. I can't say enough positive things about it. Like I said, I don't want to give anything away because I want you to go see it if you haven't seen it. But for my friends who have seen it, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say he made a 5'1", 90-pound girl so frightening. And that's very impressive. He made a girl that, under normal circumstances, and I have to say, what an incredible performance by her. Man, what's her name? It's something Navarette. I should probably know her name, but hey, Miss Navarette, if you're listening, forgive me and call me. I can handle the insanity. Anyway, she did fantastic. The main character, Bear, the character that he is insufferable. At first, what's really clever about the movie is you're not sure if you're really rooting against him or for him, But after about the midway point, you realize, oh God, I'm really rooting against this guy. First of all, he's so unbearable. He has an opportunity in the beginning to just ask her out. Just ask her out, dude. Like, but he cowers away from the moment, and he truly pays the ultimate price for that. He ruins a lot of people's lives by just not asking out a girl that he has a crush on. And I think something to learn from that specific moral of the film is just go for the things that you want in life. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to hear no. Because when you try to take shortcuts, when you try to do things the wrong way, bad stuff happens. And I think that's a great moral of this particular story. Another moral of it is you can't force a person to do something they don't want to do. Even if you somehow win a person over by external means. So we see it in society a lot. Guys, they pull above their weight because they have a lot of money. Maybe they're just throwing money at the girl. But you don't want that type of love. You want real, genuine love. You want a person that's in love with you. You're not forcing it. It's not being artificially created. You want real love. And I think the movie tackles that brilliantly. I think it tackles the theme of toxic relationships brilliantly in a way that I've never seen captured on film. I think Curry Barker is not only a tremendous writer, but an also tremendous filmmaker. His visuals were fantastic, very steady-handed with the camera. I really was impressed. And we're seeing a theme here. He had a skit channel on YouTube. We're seeing a theme with guys who are coming from more of a comedic realm enter into the horror genre and really crush it. We saw it with Jordan Peele, of course, and we've seen it with a lot of other examples at this point. The Filippo brothers with Talk to Me and Bring Her Back. We saw with Zach Kreger with Barbarian and Weapons. So we're seeing it pretty often, and there's something really fascinating about transitioning from comedy to horror so efficiently. There's something about comedy. I think maybe with comedy you understand the plight of humans. And with that mastery of psychology, you can easily transition into the horror genre and really make something high quality because you know how humans tick, you know how they work, and you know how to pull those strings. All that being said, I loved Obsession so much. It really left me with a lot to think about. Fantastic movie. Now, Backrooms. Backrooms is a really, really solid movie, and I really enjoyed it. And I've seen on the internet opinions vary pretty greatly because Backrooms is something that's been around for 7 years now. I think the creepypasta came out in 2019, so it's something that has been building a lore on the internet. People have their own version of the Backrooms in their mind and in their heart, so you're going to have a lot more of a diverse opinion spectrum with Backrooms compared to something like Obsession, which is a completely original story. And Kane Parsons, for being 20 years old, he really knows how to get a good shot. I mean, it's a really well-crafted movie. It's pretty well written, too. I think it's doing a pretty good job diving into pretty complex themes. It doesn't fully go there for me, particularly the ending. I think the ending was by no means bad. I actually enjoyed the ending, but it lost steam for me in that final third. The first third of the movie, I was in. I was like, this is amazing. This is awesome. This is so different. The second act, I was still there. I thought it was really cool exploring the Backrooms more. And then the third act slowed down for me. It lost some steam, but it still, for the most part, landed the way that I think you'd want an ending to land for it to not to be considered a poor ending. I think it's a fine ending. And the acting's fantastic. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think I'm absolutely butchering his name, but what a fantastic actor. I've seen him here and there throughout the years, but this is the first time I've really seen him get to chew on a whole lot and really show his range. I'm sure he's done it before. I just haven't seen all of his films. But this guy can act. And the Norwegian girl, man, these names are tough. Tough to remember, but she's fantastic. I saw her in Trier's film Sentimental Value, and she was fantastic in that, but that was not quite my speed. I enjoyed the movie. It was fine. I think it's worth a watch if you're into more of those slow burn types of movies, but she's fantastic, and she was incredible here. She is awesome. I think where this movie really shines is its psychedelic effect. It's really out there. It's really trippy. The concept of the Backrooms in general is very, very out there, and then the way it's executed on screen is fantastic. The set design, incredible. It really does a fantastic job giving you this unsettled feeling. You feel uncomfortable throughout it while they're exploring the Backrooms. And again, similar to Obsession, I think it's really clever what Kane Parsons did. It's an allegory. The Backrooms are an allegory for a woman trying to pleasure a woman and particularly find her G-spot. You can look and look and look, but good luck. You're not finding that thing. I'm just kidding, of course. It's an allegory for our minds. You see that really pushed heavily through the psychiatrist angle of the protagonist, the main girl. And you see she's dealing with her own mind, the complexities and the fabric of her own mind. And in trying to master her own mind, she became a psychologist, a therapist, and you can see she's still grappling with it because the mind is a very intricate thing. It's a very complex thing. And even someone who has their PhD, who is really well versed in everything mind related, still grapples with these problems. You even see her pop a pill at one point because she's struggling. The mind's a very tough thing, especially when you grew up in a traumatic environment the way that she did. And then our protagonist, man, oh God, what's Chiwetel Ejiofor's character? Man, Captain Clark, I think his name's Clark. You see with him, and they took his character in a direction that I was not expecting at all, and for that I applaud the film, because the way that they played out that character's arc, I was not expecting that at all, and I enjoy that. I like when I'm subverted. I like when my expectations are not met, and in a positive way, because the way I was expecting to play out is like a traditional running away from the monster type of story, and we get some of that at the end, but it's different than what I expected. But Backrooms is a lot of fun. Again, not as good of a movie, in my opinion, as Obsession, but both these guys in their 20s. I mean, Curry Barker's 26, I believe. Kane Parsons is 20. So really impressive directorial debuts for both these guys. And I think with more experience, Kane will be able to write a better story. But it's not a bad story at all. I think it's a really well-written story still. I'm just holding it against Obsession, which is, I mean, borderline a horror masterpiece, instant classic. That's how highly I think of Obsession. So that's all I got for you guys. If you love movies, I'm your guy. This is the place for you. I'm trying to build this channel. I've been pouring a lot of energy into this channel over the last couple years, and with your help, I can really get somewhere. I want to keep spreading the good word about keeping theaters alive. The theater experience is so important. I want to keep spreading the good word about good movies that deserve your money and your time, and with your help, I can do that. So I appreciate you so much. Stay tuned for the next one. Subscribe. Leave me a comment if you've seen these movies. What did you think? And stay tuned for the next one. Tay out.